I think that the governments know for a long time that when jobs are created in Native communities across Canada, that they're different than normally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are just some of the things that, I mean, I'm not saying that whether that's true or whether it's not. I'm just talking about some of the information that they're putting out here. And then Mohawk Council, again, you know, there's some issues surrounding, but it seems like it's more housekeeping than anything else. It's more administrative than, I mean, I don't want to really go into anything. There's communications issues that they're talking about. They're talking about more managerial positions for NBC because of lack of planning, and those, I don't want to get into that. I mean, that's something that obviously the Mohawk Council has some issues. I mean, we'll talk about it. I mean, but right, you know, so there's a lot of things that the council, I guess, are trying to work out, as they say, as far as that's concerned. But we're going to take a break. But before that, we're going to go to a quick clip from Chief Mike DeLille.
The Mercier Bridge issue has gotten pretty complicated at this time, if you will. You recently issued a letter to the community to clarify certain situations. Before we get to that, tell me, what is the role of the Mohawk Council in this situation at this time?
Well, it started back before the contract even got signed or negotiated. We're one of the parties that signed a trilateral agreement between Jacques Cartier Champlain Bridge, Federal Bridge Corporation, Ministry of Transport Quebec, and the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake. And really our only role is to assure jurisdiction, and the only jurisdiction that we're assuring is Mohawk self-insurance, and the fair wage agreement is being obliged to within this contract. That's really Kahnawake's role right now.
Okay. So what led to you writing an open letter to the community regarding the bridge situation?
Well, there's been a lot of misconceptions on our role, that we're signatories to the contract itself, that we're trying to develop different relationships with external bodies, whether it be union, CCQ. The union is obviously a union versus non-union. It's obviously a big issue now that's reared its head within this contract. And we just wanted to clarify, again, our role, making sure that the community understood exactly what we stand for, what we're trying to, I guess, assert jurisdiction in one respect, as well as trying to mediate the situation between union versus non-union, Commission of Construction for Quebec versus MSI, and the Quebec tables that we initiate here to assure that at least we have an open line of negotiation right now.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Jacques Dubois' recent press conference and some of the statements that he made in terms of the Mercier Bridge contract?
Well, I think it was ridiculous to say that the safety is as bad as things that have happened, like de la Concorde overpass, which was gross negligence on behalf of the Ministry of Transport Quebec and its inspectors. We understand that there are problems within the Mercier Bridge, within the structural assessments and so on, and that's why it's being repaired at the tune of right now $66 million plus Part B, which will be in far excess of $100 million. Is there negligence within there? Well, I think the negligence should be pointed where it's due, and it's not at the Mohawks of Kahnawake, it's not at the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake, it's definitely not within the scope of the iron workers that are working on the contract right now. They've questioned some of the abilities of some of the men, which I think is ridiculous as well. We have a proud storied history, albeit that there are issues that need to be resolved internally in terms of compliance, environmental and safety and so on, but it's an ongoing process. It's a huge contract. It's the first time anybody's ever taken on a responsibility this large. There's going to be problems. So again, part of the rationale as to why we issued that statement. But Monsieur Dubois is far off track. I issued a letter back in March of this year stating that he's no longer welcome on the territory because he outright lied to us. We thought we had an agreement. We thought we were moving toward an agreement to have at least some type of understanding. And he went right ahead and issued his declaration of a non-union contractor here on the territory. So we don't think that he has the right or ability to do that, and it's causing those types of ripples and waves within the, I'll call it, union sector of Kahnawake.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that you say that the union sector of Kahnawake. Is it true that some of the portfolio chiefs that sit on this issue are trying to bring the union into the community?
No, I don't think so. I think really the issue is CSST and CCQ. It's been fought off of the territory, not only the Mercier Bridge, but in everyday life for the past probably 25 years or so since MSI was put in place. It is the insurer of the day in Mohawk territory. We're trying to have that respected. I think people have been accused of being in bed with the union, trying to get the union itself in. I think really the issue is union conditions need to be imposed on the jobs as large as this to assure men's safety and so on. So it's both sides of the coin. People have looked at it saying you're trying to bring 7-Eleven in, when a lot of people are members of 7-Eleven, other locals outside of the territory as well. Like I said, that history is there. That's not the case at all.
Okay, so you're not trying to bring 7-Eleven in because of the size of the job?
No, not at all. And I think part of the rationale behind that is the fear, and I don't really mean fear, but the issue of the union dictating who gets to work in our territory. That poses a problem in terms of jurisdiction. I think we need to work through some of those issues as well, but it's very hard when you have unwilling partners in terms of union involvement.
Okay. Now, do you think that, some people will say, well, the union never got involved before, do you think it's an issue of money at this point?
Absolutely, it's an issue of money because of the size of the job and the media coverage that it's going to get, largest in Canada, so on and so on, in terms of bridge rehab, and it flies right in the face of what they stand for. But again, because of the people that we have here in the community, I think that the job is progressing. Whether it's on time or not is outside the scope of our relationship. We're just making sure that our men are working, that people are paying into MSI, and that they're hopefully being paid exactly what they're supposed to be being paid through fair wage.
Okay. Now, the fair wage agreement, was that created to replace some of the union wages parity, if you will?
It's exactly to mirror what happens outside, and there are some discrepancies based on taxation, the discrepancy between CSST, CCQ rate versus MSI rate, which is substantially lower. So we're still working through and towards those, but it's not specific to the Mercier Bridge job. It's been in place for the better part, again, of 20 plus years.
Okay. Now, during this union meeting that happened last Saturday at the Moose Lodge, there was a few members from the community who were talking about price parity and wage parity, if you will. And I understand that there were two chiefs from the Mohawk Council there. How come nobody brought up the fair wage agreement, and that MBC was following the fair wage agreement? And do you guys feel that they are following the fair wage agreement?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was actually 3 chiefs in attendance at the Saturday meeting. But really, it's not a fight that we're trying to be involved in. It's more of, like I said, a union versus non-union issue. We're just trying to assure compliance with fair wage. And we did a internal audit back before election in the spring, and the results were found that they are complying with fair wage. So there was a slight discrepancy in terms of safety, but equipment is being provided to the men to make up for that. So at that point, they were in compliance.
Okay. What do you think is going to solve this issue at this point?
I think we have to find a medium ground somewhere. I understand the issue from a union ironworkers perspective, and I understand the issue in terms of jurisdiction trying to be maintained within our territory. There's a reason why at the half point of the bridge, call it middle of the river, no pun intended, it says Ganawage on one side and it says LaSalle on the other, depending on which direction you're going. When Part B comes rolling around and they've extended it to January 15th, we'd like to have some type of agreement in place through CCQ that would recognize the authority and jurisdiction of Ganawage. I think it can be done. Cooler heads have to prevail, and our work will continue. So we're looking forward to Phase B being another proud part of our history.